thought you'd know. Stocktwits knows and your Discord slow. We were live while your alert said no. Streaming charts, making gains, throwing shade. Community rip is where legends are made. Stocktwits knows they say for show. We move fast while the boomers grow. Forget your forums, forget your posts. Stocktwits wins, coast to coast. Oh, 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 yeah! Stocktwits knows. You just caught the top.
We just caught the top, boys. Welcome to the Community Rip Live. It's your boy Bags, GP, Gautam. How are you? And Nick, JFDI. What's up, guys?
What's happening?
What's going on?
Oh, just enjoying this market meltdown. Are you ready for another leg or two lower, Nick?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
How much lower do you think we're going?
Oh, I don't know. Probably to zero.
That makes sense.
You know, I mean, looking at the cues, if you were trying to anticipate, I think if you're looking for lower, I think we either bounce out of here off the 50-day and either kind of test the highs and put in kind of a double top, or kind of build out a right shoulder. But I gotta say, like, personally, if I saw the Qs under 540, 550s, I'm probably in cash across my accounts. That's kind of where I'm looking at, to shift gears. Just me personally.
Well,
I'm not in the camp that we're heading that low yet. I'm not there, so.
Okay. I just think that there's a whole lot of maybe Riptide pulling us down, but GP, you made an extremely good bull case, and you always do. But while we were doing our little pre-show meeting a few minutes ago, you started to talk me down off my bearishness a little bit, and you actually put some money to work today or yesterday.
Yeah. So I was about 30% cash yesterday. Definitely put some money to work on names that I think can do okay from here, right? And I'm at a point where if it fails, it's not too bad. So it's worth the opportunity to take that shot here. The names that I thought about, like anything related to ETH, the crypto, because ETH had a breakout retest. So whatever your cup of tea is in that space, that's kind of where I'd be looking as well, whether it's SBET, whether it's ETHU or BMNR or whatever. You think all these treasury companies are just going to stop buying now? They're just slowed down. Anyway, that was definitely one of them. And the other one was Lemonade. Lemonade is one that's been sore for me, a sore subject, because going into earnings, it was a position. I was only up like, I think 7 or 10% or something like that. And that's not enough buffer for me. So I took my profits before earnings and waited till after earnings. And obviously we've seen what it does. The setup in Lemonade is so powerful on a multiple time frame that I was looking to enter back in. And so you had a expansion candle on Lemonade 9 months ago. And then we spent, or 10 months ago, and then we spent 8 months inside that expansion candle. And then we finally broke out this month on the 9th month, and we came back and retested the breakout level today. So I put money to work very close to that 53.85 mark. So if it doesn't work, if it closes below today, it's a small percentage loss. It's worth the effort for me. And so the other one was also MicroStrategy, which was coming into the 200-day. We've talked about this in the past before, which was MicroStrategy has this kind of rolling double bottom, which like hits the 200-day, bounces up, and then comes back and hits the 200-day again, whether you're watching the 200 EMA or 200 SMA. It doesn't matter. It's both usually at the same time, and then takes off finally, right? So if you expand on MicroStrategy, Ben, and go back, you can see that it's been like this rolling 200-day kind of. Anyway, so I put money to work in individual names, and I'm at a point where you're risking maybe a couple percent at the most on these names because they've gotten destroyed while the markets have gone higher. So they're now showing relative strength while the markets are still bright red. So you got to see what works for you.
Nick, what do you think about all that from GP?
Yeah, I was kind of actually just pulling up the Qs again. Kind of rethinking what I had said. Just, if we see, price on the Qs right now is breaking a trend line that started back in May, and typically they say that, like, the measured move on a like within a pattern is where the pattern originated, which would put price back at, like, 505, 510, which I don't know. I think I don't know. I was just kind of rambling there, other than just thinking that I'm cautiously optimistic. I think you need to have an open mind to what's happening here.
A chart of the Qs. Maybe explain your thought process and what that meant.
I really don't like the analogs. I just thought that, kind of backing up a few months, I thought that the COVID playbook was kind of like what we were following, or the book that we should be looking at. And if you pull up that chart or pull up like where we're at, it kind of just looks like we're in, or either in it or beginning that sideways consolidation period. So, like, how long it lasts, like, we don't know.
Sorry, dude. Which chart did you
just go back to the Q. Go back to the Q's 2020.
Got it.
It's taking forever for my chart to get back there.
There you go. You want the daily look?
Yeah, so I just kind of think that that's where we're at. So to think that we're going to have some super deep correction, I'm not there yet. I think that we're going to correct through time and sideways versus time and down.
Basically, this is what you think we're currently experiencing, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, it's likely that we're probably either going to, well, obviously, whether, I guess we're likely waiting for the Fed announcement in September, right? So we'll have to kind of see whether we rally into the announcement or sell off into the announcement to really get a feel of, like, how you want to be positioned going into it. And then obviously what's the most important is how the market reacts to whatever they decide to do. So, like, the only reason I bring that up is because if you're looking at that chart of the Qs in 2020 going into that August through end of the year kind of time period, it's kind of like a wide range base. And I think the interest rate conversation could be the catalyst to create that kind of high level base or build out.
I did my homework for today's show, Nick, and
yeah,
I don't disagree with you on that. I debated putting on a tinfoil hat and going through a bunch of conspiracy theories behind me, but in all seriousness, there's a lot of folks who, and myself included, that thought a rate cut was going to mean all of a sudden the markets are going to turn lower. That's usually not the case, especially since 1950. Out of the 9 times, 5 of the 9 times, the market has gone higher after a rate cut. So you're basically a little bit better than 50-50 that a downturn won't happen after an initial rate cut. So if you like flipping a quarter, right, you might win on tails today or on next month when the rate decision might be announced. So I thought that was interesting. There's a lot of people out here, saying all this about rate cuts and the macro fear that if you watched our episode 2 episodes ago with Howard on here, like the macro is foolishness, right, GP? And I don't think you're viewing anything you're doing through the lens of what might happen if a rate cut happens or doesn't happen.
So I'm in the camp that rate cuts are important, but not important enough. Maybe it launches IWM. I don't honestly think so. I think what you're seeing in especially the small cap, mid cap space is companies that are starting to perform that did not perform in 2021, right? They were on fluff. These guys have earnings. One of the biggest names in not biggest names because it's all equal weighted, but one that follows a lot of retail is Hims, right? So Hims is a great example of a stock that's sitting in the IWM that has been crushing it without rate cuts, right? Like, and the thought process here for me was over the last 3 years in our pretty big, massive monetary regime shift, anything and everything that was going to survive has already shown you it's going to survive. And the ones that haven't, they've gotten smoked out. Look, the heyday of 2021 was rolling a truck down a hill and calling it a company. Nicola, bankrupt, right? Fake Meat, Beyond just went bankrupt. Bed Bath & Beyond, bankrupt. Forever 21, bankrupt. We can go through the list, but the companies that were going to survive through a epic and historic monetary shift have already shown you, and they're in the IWM and they're getting ready. So will that add fuel to their fire? Probably, but they're already executing. Carvana is a great example, right? We've talked about it so many times. Carvana went down 99% and just took out all-time highs a couple of weeks ago. And so my thought process in the IWM and small cap space, they can fuck around and find out here, which they will do because it's the markets. But ultimately, my general thought process is that the small caps companies that are sitting in these small and mid cap spaces are actually executing, and the rate cuts will add fuel to the fire, but they're still doing really, really well. There's 2,000 companies, so are you going to point out one and tell me that's doing bad? Sure. But here's another one. Did you know that the second most weighted asset class in the IWM is industrials?
Interesting.
No, I did not know that.
Right? So the first weighted is XLF, which is financials, right? And everyone knows that. But industrials are the second heaviest weighted. I think it's 17.3 or 17.4%, right? And if you're looking at some of these industrial names that are sitting in,
Man, that chart looks good.
Look at BE, right? Bloom Energy.
Does it look good, Nick? Does it? I don't know.
The XLI. I was looking at the XLI.
Yeah.
BE.
But look at BE, right? This is a IWM industrial. Look at KTOS.
That's a defense manufacturer.
It's part of the industrial class, right? So go to GHC. Names you probably haven't heard of, but these are all IWM names. I went through all 2,000 charts in the last week or so. So take a look at them. I like I said a couple of weeks ago, everyone wants to call it shitco summer or shitco companies, but I think these are actually performing. This is their moment that, hey, they've built a base of a good business that the rate cuts would just be fuel to the fire that's already been executing.
So maybe shitco summer extends beyond Labor Day?
Shitco fall.
Oh boy. I say this playing devil's advocate most of the time, and all my doom comments were just more of sentiment that I'm reading on Stocktwits and other Fintwaterati places. But I think what really rolled the market this morning was that MIT Meta AI study that came out, right? That AI has basically been this waste of investment. And I don't know how much I buy stock into that. I can remember when Meta decided to go into the metaverse and change their name from Facebook to Meta, and that kind of rolled the market a little bit. But do you think these are just headlines, Nick, that are built to scare people out of their money?
I mean, yeah, that's how I would read it. I mean, I think God, Meta looks fantastic. I'm kicking myself for not throwing on a starter or an entry here today. Even I would have been a little early because I would have wanted it like 740 is kind of the price I would have wanted, but it would have been just
744 now, you cheap bastard. Buy some.
Yeah, I know. I think if price can close above that, what day high is that? If price can close strong, I think that I will. But I mean, I don't really believe, honestly, like the way I'm looking at the market currently, and just about any and every headline I see out there, I'm looking at as a reason to try and shake me out. I mean, you've gotta respect the price action. So like yesterday, it fucking sucked because you're dicing positions like left and if you got a bunch on, like you're dicing them left and right when the 20 days breaking, like you just have to.
And almost everything closed at the lows yesterday.
Yeah. So so again, like you gotta respect the price action, you gotta respect the top. Like I don't know. Every time I was selling something, I was like continually setting alerts to either like, and I was kind of a wiener adding to pretty much everything today, but or at least that like the stuff that I held. I just thought today was a great opportunity for, in particular, like all those alt energy names. GP brought up BE for as an example, but I don't know. Like before the show, we were kind of talking. Like I think the wait and see right now is to like, okay, if you're coming from a heavy cash standpoint, are you wanting to buy like a fresh setup, like a fresh base breakout, or are you wanting to buy like the relative strength where it's more of a continuation trade, continuation move? Like what are you? Because I think you could play the market, like you could play it so many ways right now, whether you're trying to look at like what's been the strongest and find like logical areas where price is going to backfill and play it that way, or again just kind of set your alerts for strength where price kind of whatever kind of, again, you got to like dip in your tool belt, but like if you're going to set the alerts in areas of strength when we're in a choppy market, you got to be pretty selective. Because
what are you looking to do, Nick? Are you looking at fresh setups? Are you looking at continuation? Are you looking at relative strength? What are you looking for?
A little of both. Right now, I'm scanning a lot of the relative strength. I
give me a name.
Definitely made a mistake today. Like look at Jev, for instance. Like today. Okay, actually pull up Sedge first.
SEG.
CEG.
CEG.
So you kind of had this kind of a cup and handle look to it. And if you just extend, horizontal lines out from the high and low of that huge wide range bar back there in June. Yeah, so we had I was looking at the high and the low of that bar as kind of pivots. I'm already long. Price broke out and failed. We got the failed breakout. So price, it reverted right back to the lows of the range. And then this morning it took the lows of that range. So I thought that, again, I was kind of a wiener about it and I didn't add to it, but I think that it was a good spot to add. I guess we'll see in the coming days. Jev, in the same case, it's like, dude, this thing's been a rocket. You got to pull in back to 600, which was also that gap low.
Which one, Nick?
I don't know, like the whole
AWI?
GEV.
GEV.
Like it's just like kind of back to this AI is fake or AI is whatever. I like, dude, this is a freight train that is rolling. I don't know. So I guess back to answering your question, I'm definitely playing it both ways. Like I spent a lot of time yesterday setting a fuckload of alerts in both lows, backfilling, and pullbacks, and strength as well. So it's kind of like my mindset is just, you know, if alerts trigger, kind of take a look at it. If alerts aren't going off, then, you know, sit on your hands and be patient. Otherwise, you're just going to get caught in the range.
Available. Good to have some cash available,
Yeah.
right? GP, you went shopping. Were you looking at more relative strength, fresh setups, or looking for things to continue? I know you said you got into Lemonade, and you were looking at strategy, micro strategy.
Yeah, those are the ones I got into. So I got stopped out when it broke the 50-day on MicroStrategy. So I was looking for re-entry, and I got it. So whether it holds, whether it does nothing, but I'll take the shot here because I said, to me, the risk is the low of day, which is what I think 325. So I bought on over that, obviously, once it started to confirm, right when I kind of got back to the close, which is around 335 or so, somewhere around there. So you got about $10 down, which is what, 3%, right? Like that to me is worth the risk here. Not obviously the Qs are not doing well, but we're allowed, like, what happened to the, I guess the question is, what happened to the charts that used to just consolidate, come back, retest, and then go? We don't, like, now we just consolidate and then die, right? Like for example, I'll give you like Rocket Labs, right? Rocket Labs, high flyer, huge move up, right? It's expansion, and it's been consolidating. Go to the weekly for a second.
Sure.
And weekly gets to that 9-week moving average. It's a nice consolidation on lower volume, and today it just breaks, right? Like this stuff that, like, charts used to just consolidate and be kind of normal behaving just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And we know, we've talked about this ad nauseum, which is the single stock ETFs and strategies are kind of making these moves a lot more than they used to be. But yeah, like this is another one, right? Like I would have expected the 9-week to hold on the first test after a breakout. The week's not done, so who knows? But right now, everyone's sitting there. It's like, oh crap, it broke. If it closes above, great. But these are the names that I'd be looking at. Obviously, it's had a huge move from 25, where I got into 50 something, and from the lows, like, 12. So huge move. So the consolidation is going to take a bit longer. I like what's going on. They are consolidating and beating down names while the markets are holding up pretty well. And so let the markets pull in, let it be. Dude, look at what they just did to Palantir.
Yeah, I think got whacked.
Like, go to the daily. This is just ridiculous, right? And now the market's pulling in, and Palantir doesn't give two shits anymore. Maybe it goes lower or whatever. It's so funny, right? Like, couldn't stop selling for two straight days nonstop, and now all of a sudden it's found strength. So there's a lot of rotation. Rotation is the lifeblood of the markets. Dude, the S&P yesterday on that nasty day, 70% of the components in the S&P were green and positive for the day.
Yeah, I found that interesting too, weird too, because I don't do it like, crazy, like I don't chart it or anything, but I pay attention to like my master list, my master watch list. I've got like 1,500 stocks on it. It's like I'll just kind of pay attention to whether like the number of names closing green is kind of like growing or slowing down or like whatever. And I don't remember what it was yesterday, but I was like, man, there's a lot of green on my watch list for not a lot of green in my portfolio. But
yeah, and they have the pressure on all the high flyers, right? Every single popular name got destroyed yesterday.
Great trade, iDog. She said I dumped all of my Palantir at 187.50. That's pretty good timing. That's pretty good timing. Hey everybody in the chat. It's great to see you. Thanks for chiming in. We do have one question that I feel like we have to talk about. Justin Abrams wants us to explain our no buy on UNH. And I said I didn't like it. I'll touch on it. GP, I know you said you liked it down here in the lower 200s, 220 to 207. Would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first?
No, you can go first.
Yeah, I still don't like UNH. Yes, it popped, and sure, if you were able to time the bottom and get a 25% gain, congratulations. But a lot of people were buying here, and then a lot of people bought here, and then they were, oh shit, it's going lower, and didn't buy there. So if you bought in these two places, you're roughly right there, and you're still underwater. So I don't like UNH because I still think the healthcare sector is going to be problematic in the longer term, because there's going to be a large amount of government money taking out of this section, since we all have reductions of Medicaid and Medicare across the board. So I think profits are going to dry up. Yes, subscriber growth will probably go higher, but those aren't the government contracts that really fuel these companies. So there's my take. That's why I don't like UNH, at least not yet. I know Warren Buffett bought some, and we can go look at Oxy as an inclination of sometimes getting ahead of ourselves. But he's the master. I mean, sure, it's okay to be riding along with Warren, and if you bought down here with him, congratulations. But it's still a do not touch for me, at least for some time. I don't have unlimited funds like Berkshire to just keep doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on plays. So there you go. There's my no buy on UNH.
Yeah. My no buy is because we need to flush everyone like you. Sorry.
On Caddy GP today.
No, I'm just playing. The reality is that these setups typically, like Warren Buffett bought in like May, right? So you got to remember, if you're looking at this chart, the breakdown in UNH wasn't Q2, it was Q3. All the purchases you saw were Q2. And even bearing the purchases from Tepper, from Buffett, from whatever, we broke down and re-broke lows here, right? And so that tells you that they bought initially, but they didn't come in and buy a lot more, right? And so now you have to wait till Q3 to find out more. And on a chart basis, it pulled right into the gap zone. It's the red cloud underhead. There's overhead, I mean, and there's just for the amount of bullishness, the price is 297, right? Like, you think for the amount of bullishness on how many people have entered in big dog style, you think we'd be at 500.
You're still down 50% from highs.
You're still down 50% for the year, right? And so my thought process is they bought their initial starting positions to this stuff, and they're also going to wait for that flush that's going to come. There's a secondary event that's going to come here. Bottoms don't happen 2 months apart. They happen months, like 6 to 8 months apart, right? So you have this moment. Like if you pull up if you want a good comparison, pull up the Boeing chart. Go to the month to the Boeing chart. Right? Like you see how you had that, like, I know it's COVID, you're going to say it, but we talked about this back then, that Boeing was going to die before COVID even came about, right? Because it was a typical distribution pattern at the top. You go sideways, you have this spring up to trap more people, reverse it down, and then once it breaks this zone, then you added in COVID and it just went kaput, right? Which obviously turned into a massive trade if you were short. But you see how that candle formed there? You see how many months later that it came back to retest that bottom again? So, like, to me, technically, there's no reason to be in UNH stock, right? If you sold puts, great. The time decay will probably help you over time, but this will come back and retest these lows at some point, right? And so that's where that's the double bottom setup. That's what I'd be looking for here. I have no interest in holding capital in UNH, even if it's at 3.5% or 4%, whatever it is, because you have the inherent risk of being down 50% on another gap down, right?
So, just because the way my mind works, I went straight to that comment because if you noticed my show notes at the very bottom that I tweeted out earlier, I said controlled explosives and blasting ? And the reason why I put that, not particularly because of UNH, but the kids are at school now. I've got hours of time on my hand, and today I have watched relentless videos of controlled demolitions and explosives. And these guys don't just go in there and throw dynamite at the largest building and just, it all falls down in one fell swoop, right? That's why it's controlled. You want it to fall in a certain way. And now we're coming full circle. You can talk about UNH in that regard, that it's basically a controlled demolition. And where you pick up the rubble, that's neither here nor there. We don't know yet. But going back to the Qs, Nick, and going back to some of these stocks that have really run up a long way, let's go to the weekly chart here. We have been in just a massive building exercise, right? Since we V'd out of the Independence Day bottom. And at some point, you got to bring it down, right? You have to correct either through price or time or both. And what's enables the next leg higher, right? It's to pull in a little bit, to pull in buyers, to go higher. So that doesn't mean that the controlled explosive just levels everything. Usually you're clearing that to build something bigger and better. And that's what I'm on today, guys. I know I was acting really bearish earlier, but I think all these are positive signs of a healthy market. All right. You've got these names bouncing back today. You've had all this strength for months on end to now all of a sudden get a little pullback, and people think that, oh my gosh, it's doom, it's over. It's not. This is what happens when the market's strong, is you have to have a breather to end up going higher. Nick?
Nah, I agree. I mean, and looking at that chart, you zoom out, we're sitting at all-time fucking highs. Like, I don't know. Whether you get stopped out on your longs, like,
we're less than 3.75% from all-time highs, and all of a sudden we're going to zero. We're draining we're circling the drain, so to speak. I don't buy it.
No, I don't either.
It's liquidity, right? As you just said, we've talked about before as well. need liquidity to go higher. So we've been grinding and grinding and grinding. So this is a can the liquidity go lower? Sure, absolutely. I'm not saying that, but this is where I look for individual names that are doing the things that I expect it to do and responding that way, right? So
I'm not going to name any names, but one of our traders here on the stream said they were looking for about a 580. I don't remember who that was, but somebody said that. I didn't put initials or name beside it, but one of us said that.
it was me.
What?
Right? Like we talked
Oh,
about
580. 580.
the
Sure.
double top breakout, the 10% move. The thing is, the SPY hasn't had that 10% move. Only the Qs has. So, and you can see over the last 2 days how the Q's weakness is happening, but SPY not so much, and Dow definitely not. Right? Like, pull up the Dow Industrials chart. Right? So DIA or whatever.
Which one, GP?
DIA, Dow Industrials.
Oh, the Dow.
Yeah. Right? Like, so does that look like it's going to break down?
Not yet.
That tell me that doesn't look like an inverse head and shoulders here, right? Like, forget any of that stuff. It's punching against it. To me, these names haven't even taken out all-time highs in a meaningful way. And you know who sits in this now? Amazon, Microsoft. Right? It's only 30 stocks, right? So,
Yep.
So this is why I think this current pullback is still shallow, right? And it will remain shallow until we get a little bit more upside. And we've talked about this for a couple of weeks now. Is I think the S&P is going to 6738, right? So before we get the real pullback, and it's going to be so quick and nasty. But yeah, so I personally think, and dude, I've been wrong hundreds of times. I might be wrong this time, but you're on names that you want to be a part of. You're getting opportunities. So if the opportunity fails, it fails, but it's worth the shot.
I had really a good book suggestion, GP, and it reminds me of I've lost a bunch of times. It's called The Best Loser Wins. I think I just bought it, so I can't wait to read it, but that was recommended by Hey Hoser on Stocktwits. So shout out to him for putting me onto that. Nick, you might like it because it's about psychology and tactics, right? You gotta trim your losses, right? You gotta accept those things.
What was it called again?
The
best loser?
Best loser wins. Best loser wins.
All right. Sounds like something to get.
So there we go.
But that, isn't that the fundamental kind of conversation around all this stuff, which is like every winner is the person who just tried one more time after losing, right? And so the markets, you have to have your points. And beating up names like UNH, like Novo Nordisk, like CVS, and take a look at CVS. This is a great chart, but for years it was terrible. Right?
Look at it this week.
Huh?
Look at it this week. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's a fantastic chart. You see the inverse head and shoulders, but for nearly 2.5 or 3 years, it couldn't get out of itself, right? Like, it was rejecting the 50-week on and on and on and on again. And then all of a sudden, we have the 50-week becoming support, and now trending price is much better, right? So this is another position I took at 62. And then I found out it was earnings, or 61, and then I found out it was earnings, so I sold it at 62. and I'm pissed. But these are the types of setups I continuously talk about, that we continuously look for, is trend changes on weekly and monthly timeframes are massively powerful. You gotta have patience though, right? Like it's not gonna happen overnight. These charts are broken. So look for these names. Look for the names that have already gone through the UNH cycle versus UNH, right? So
So when you brought up CVS, I have to clear the air and correct the record here. I didn't like the chart. I still don't like the company. But part of my thing was their couponing all the way to zero, right? That was my take. Well, I don't like it. And this will happen continuously throughout my time of being on this earth. My wife corrected me. She said, don't the manufacturers pay the freight on those coupons? And I was like, of course they do, Mrs. Bags. You are absolutely right. So CVS isn't losing out on any of that revenue. It's coming from the manufacturer. So I stand corrected on that thesis.
that's, and the chart's reflecting your thesis correction.
Yeah.
Right? So like a lot of people argue with me on Stocktwits, right, about UNH or whatever, and I'm like, guys, like I've been wrong before. I don't really care. If you're not wrong in this game, then you are lying. Right? It's just great.
Then I've got a Discord to sell you for $29.99 a month.
What's that?
If you're never wrong, then I've got a Discord to sell you.
Yeah, I've been wrong before, but I'll give you general conversations around what technical structures look like, right? Build your own concept around it. But we've been talking about technical, like one of the biggest, most powerful technical shifts happened in 2023. Do you know what that was? NVIDIA went from rejecting the 20-week to holding the 20-week. Right on January 4th or 5th of 2023. So like look at that, look at what trend shifts can do, right? You will go from rejecting the 20-week to holding it, and all you had to do was put a stop there, right? And then take it. But so obviously NVIDIA is a exceptional story, but we talked about it then, right? We
just go back to HIMS, right?
Yeah.
Just go back to HIMS and look at the 50-week, right? The yellow line on the screen. Nick, we talk a lot about, each chart has its own DNA or its own sort of heartbeat in essence. Do you look at things like this of, all right, it's bounced every time at the 50-week, or all right, it's bounced every time at the 20-day or whatever?
I am more and more, especially the shorter term, like the 10 and the 20, more so than the 50 and the 200. If it's the shorter term moving averages, I'm looking for price to really respect it, versus like the 50 and the 200. Usually when those tests happen, price is so extended from the 50-day that I'm expecting some fuckery. Like it's not going to be, a lot of times you're not going to see like a tap and go right off the 50-day. You're going to see it price kind of fluctuate. So, but yeah, I do. I mean, I liken the moving averages to kind of the personality of the stock. And you could probably pick, really any time frame you want, whether you're day trading, swing trading, position trading. Like it doesn't really, it's just a matter of kind of dicking with the time, like the X, like the what period of the moving average is it that you wanna kind of putz with.
Yeah, I used to have indicators all over my charts, and I still look at the RSI and the Stoke, but I don't use them like I did. I think for me, watching the price action on the daily candles and the weekly candles and the monthly candles, plus the moving averages, kind of simplify things a lot for me, and I don't really pay attention to much.
Yeah.
GP has me leaving the volume on because when I turn volume off, he has to remind me, will you turn the volume on so we can see the volume? And of course I do. So I just leave the volume on just for GP's shits and gigs, but
I almost like even volume. I almost like in hindsight more than anything at this point. Like the only thing that I really care about are like high volume bars that like really stick out. Just being that I think that price is gonna, I don't know, gravitate towards the highs and the lows of that candle. In kind of in both directions.
And that's
if you actually go back to the UNH chart, interestingly, clearly you guys don't care about my opinion, but if you did, I'm just kidding. I would say that price reclaimed the low of that high volume low candle. It's not a trade for me. I'm not saying that I think it's a great looking trade, but just looking at it, price reclaimed the low of that high volume candle. So in the back of my mind, I'd be like, all right, price is going to head back towards the high end of that candle, which, that only gets you up to like 400 on the monthly, I think. And right around there, I think on the weekly too. But either way,
I think that's
even volume. I kind of look at. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
I hear you, but that Buffett just created a ton of exit liquidity.
Sure.
So, like it wasn't.
I mean, again, like
sellers left, right? Now you have all these buyers hopeful that we're going to go higher. If it starts breaking down, I'm not saying it's going to, but if it starts breaking down, you get these guys who all like, oh my God, UNH, Buffett's going to save me, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, they get stopped out or they are in desperation and they sell it. And all of a sudden it flushes and then bottoms. And then you curse your screen for the test of time.
I mean, if you, I've got a couple lines on the chart here. If you look at this, just, regardless of your opinion of the company or the business or whatever, if you just look at the chart, Nick, I think what you said is very poignant, right? It retook that bar where I've got the top pink line, but basically it just did a undercut and go from that previous low, right? So it gave everybody who had stops in at the low, right? It took those out and then bounced right back. So I'm not saying that this is setting a floor for UNH, but I think you could probably trade against, let's say, 288, 289.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of what I was thinking too. I just was like in looking at like again those kind of high volume bars. Again, if you have a bias or thesis that is, I don't know, some form of like fundamental information, sure, like those are odds and like that's something that can overlay in your process. But for someone like for me, for instance, where I'm like, dude, it's a ticker is a ticker. If I was just looking at it as like a setup, that's kind of how I would be looking at it versus like the other way. I don't know. UNH kind of seems to be a name that gets everyone hot and bothered these days.
But if you got it, Nick, for me, like you're right on the weekly, right? But make this the daily. And see, this is where I think the volume. Look at where it rejected, right? Like the first gap down was pretty deep, and so like it hasn't reclaimed any of that high volume area except for the first one, right? And so to me, like it has.
I mean, your entry wasn't your entry. Like, if we're gonna like really argue about UNH, like the real entry on the reclaim, like way lower though, on that like that undercut where Ben was talking about, kind of all those stops getting taken out. Because if you're looking at that, like, let's say 250, like 250 realistically should be your entry as like that wick low got taken out.
100%.
At least as a like.
And that's a mental round number too, right? Like 250 is a number like, all right, I'm going to buy it for 250, right? Like that's just a mental round number that psychologically humans are inclined to like.
Anyway, this is a lot of talking about a stock.
Yeah. I didn't mean to derail. I just wanted to go back again, like even the volume. I kind of like oscillators on the higher time frames, like the monthly and the weekly, versus the daily. And then again, I think you guys know, like the McClellan's really the only, again, oscillator indicator that I really pay attention to in terms of like a timing tool. Dude, price and your moving averages, I think, are that's your gold right there.
Wow, this hour is flying by. We got about 10
just
minutes
saw
left.
that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a great show. I don't see anybody throwing any names out there for us to look at.
There was a question about hymns.
Oh, sure, we
Hymns
can go back to hymns.
Do we go over hymns?
We can, yeah, we brought it up just when you were talking about Shitco fall.
Yeah. So like this is a company that's obviously profitable doing, but we get to 64 to 66 and they gap it down every single time. That's 3 times in a row. It is making a higher low. It tagged the 200 EMA today. It's been weaker than the rest of the market way before the market started to pull in. It is now showing strength in a weak market. It is trying to go green. It is actually green. Your entry on this is so minimal. What, 3% down, right?
Yep.
You can wait for the 30, sure, or you can find out if this is the bottom by taking
It's
an
almost
entry.
up 1% right now.
What's that?
It's almost up a full percent right now.
Yeah, and so relative strength on red days are like red market days are massive. Take a look at hymns on April 7th. Is that April 7th?
April 7th, 2025.
That day the market took a nasty dump, and that's what hymns did then, right? So I will just put that out there in terms of relative strength on red days, right? And same concept there on hymns. Hymns was already getting smoked going into April 7th, and then it stopped getting smoked on April 4th. And then April 7th, we had another massive gap down, and we didn't get smoked again. You have to pay attention to relative strength.
Are you buying any here? I know you have hymns in your long portfolio.
I'm just annoyed. I'm like, why are we back here again? But
well, it's strong. It's almost up 4% from the bottom to where it is right now. So down 3%, up 1%. That's a 4% day.
And one of the few names that actually took a high day today, right? Like everything else is being less red. This actually took out the high of day today. So if you're paying attention to relative strength and it's something you focus on, this is a great name. It led the market out last time, by the way.
I saw our good friend Logan McNulty on Stocktwits post about coin. He had a very similar take on coin that you did on hymns, that this is a spot at the 20 week and you basically have that low, right, to work against. So you guys know I'm long coin. I've been long coin for a long time. But if I were so inclined, I like it right there.
Yeah, coin has been.
I think
never does anything in slow motion, right? It goes from 146 to 480, whatever, in a heart, or 440 in a heartbeat, and then goes from 440 straight to 290 in a heartbeat. It's a low volume pullback. If it's in a great place, you have a good risk to reward here. You have now data post earnings report. Yeah, I like it.
We got 2 names, LNG, which that's probably LNG is Cheniere Energy, which they are in liquid natural gas, I'm guessing. Nick, you're
dude. All of his. I was gonna say, yeah, that whole list that well, I'm not sure his name, AAXA posted. They all look phenomenal. I posted actually LNG earlier today just because we had kind of what looked like was going to be the start of a pocket pivot, but what is it, 2 o'clock? I don't think we'll get it, but you had a nice wide range bar through all of the converging moving averages on the daily. It's just we don't have the volume to confirm it, but either way.
I don't do the energy sector, but I love. What am I pointing out, GP? What am I pointing out here?
Wicks.
Those low wicks. I love that when price pushes back up. Now that one might be a little concerning, but I think you've got stacked 6 months back to back to back to back to back here. I wouldn't be so worried about that one just yet. I like LNG, and I'm not an energy trader. So, Nick, you like it too?
Yeah, I think it looks great. I actually like it on the daily, probably more than ever. I like it more on the daily and the monthly than I think anything. But
the weekly looks good
it
too.
Looks fantastic.
It's taking those moving averages with it higher right there. So we'll zoom in a little more. There you go. Taking out the 9, taking out the 20, and then the daily, same thing. You got them ready to cross over. So I like that look a lot. And I don't like energy, so that's a great pick. What was the other one? Halo
kind of building out a base on the daily and the weekly, probably too, I would imagine. Yeah, goddamn, that thing looks so good. That got away from me. I didn't have any alerts set on it. Fuck.
Dude, take a look at BBIO as well.
BBIO. Bridge bio.
Yeah. Like on the monthly. It just looks phenomenal, right? To me,
yeah, I like that, right? I like that
yeah.
look. I like we talked about this the other day, sort of stair-stepping cups, right?
Guess where this one sits?
In the IWM.
I mean, if you guys get an opportunity, do yourself a favor, go through the IWM stocks and their charts. There are an insane amount of great looking charts there. And the best part is there's no like there's no like retail gotta buy this crap. It's not open, it's not Oscar, it's not UNH, it's just ignored, right? So the other one I was looking at, some random one by the way. Look at Ramp.
Ramp?
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think of this one.
RAMP.
REP? RM.
It looks like so many other charts that we've witnessed.
Yeah. It was look at the monthly.
Oh.
So it's just one of those that caught my eye.
I mean,
bottom fishing.
I'll see your ramp with a Rivian.
Yeah, they're like, it will work. It will take another 5 years, but it'll work.
Anywho, hey, we are out of time. Last word, GP.
Do the work.
Nicholas.
Yeah, I got one. I know we were talking about oscillators and indicators. For guys that are getting chopped up, throw the daily ATR on your chart and plot the ATR on the daily. So if you're trading short term and you know that like the ATR on like, let's say the Qs is like $2. If price has moved $2, like when the environment is chopped, we shouldn't be anticipating or expecting follow through. So like if you're looking for a bounce trade and you know that price is getting extended, check out the ATR to see where it's at versus the ATR. And you typically find some pretty good like reversal points. Just throwing it out there. If anybody has any questions, again, shoot me a DM or shoot me a tweet, whatever.
I like that, Nick. way back in the day when I was just a young Padawan, learning how to chart, short seller who used to be on Stocktwits but now's on X, reminded me that you can also chart these indicators, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to necessarily, and that looks like a pretty good place to go fishing. On the
ATR is a nice spot. I like the ATR a lot because if you use the ATR both on the daily and the weekly, you can really size up a breakout if price. I mean, that's where the kind of the volatility contraction type patterns come into play. But ATR, even for day traders, I mean, like, there's no reason you should be like shorting in the hole or buying a breakout when price has reached kind of the extreme of that ATR. Again, in a chop environment, which is kind of what we're in.
And this is the weekly right now. If I threw the ATR on, it is undercutting it, but we've seen so many undercuts and goes. Anyway, Nick, thank you for the ATR, and I love your opinion on UNH. So don't let anybody tell you different. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks to the chat. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us and chopping up this market with us. Remember, you can always catch us every Wednesday live at 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Community Rip Live and wherever this show is streamed. Thank you.